I didn't know until I was the age of 40 that I am very, very ADHD. And also maybe a bit autistic. I mean, it's a spectrum, right? But I went most of my life without ever really understanding this. It wasn't until the last year that I actually saw a whole bunch of ADHD memes. And not only were they funny, they actually were pointing out something that was very truthful for me. The way that my mind works, the distraction, the hyperfocus, the sensitivity to all kinds of sensory inputs, overwhelm, burnout, all of these things. It was like the more that I investigated it, the more boxes that I checked. So for 40 years, I have been living life as something that society calls disorder. I have been, it's hard to imagine because I have a friend who is quite high on the autistic spectrum. And I always used to think that he was nothing like me, that I was so different, that he was exceptionally weird. He had a very difficult time being in the human form. Practical day-to-day things were very challenging for him. And then yesterday, I was sitting down at a cafe and I needed to make some changes because I just hired a virtual assistant. Finally. Thank God. Actually, I tried to do it several times, but it failed miserably, but that's another conversation. And so I am sitting there getting onto my QuickBooks account so that I can set up two-factor authorization, send her the code so that she can log in so that I can still keep my account secure. But then two-factor authorization didn't work, and then I had to call QuickBooks, and then all of a sudden they said that their system was glitching, and before I knew it, just handling simple administrative tasks, I wanted to scream. All of a sudden, the noise of the city was getting to be overwhelming. The smell of cigarettes and people's cologne, the sound of the street sweepers. I was fried. And then I realized, oh yeah, well, that's a symptom of whether autism, ADHD, what we could call as a whole neurodivergence, is having difficulty with seemingly relatively simple tasks, administrative tasks, day-to-day things like paying bills, like handling and setting up two-factor authorization. And it's been like this for me most of my life. I just didn't really know it. It was like going to a fish and saying to a fish, hey, what's it like to swim in water? And the fish goes, what's water? So I look back at my career as a restaurant manager and for a long time as a waiter, as a bartender. I did really well in that industry. Financially was never really the biggest thing, but that was hard. Unless I was making tips, I made really good tips, but as a manager, it just is terrible. Restaurant managers are not known for making a whole lot of money. But I did well in that I thrived in that environment because it's dynamic, chaotic, lots of things happening. These are situations where people who are ADHD or have that those symptoms, that neurological wiring, we thrive in environments that are like that. But sitting down and doing tasks, my God, I remember there are multiple times where I had an office, but my office was like half of a coat closet in a restaurant. And so sitting down and doing tasks, I was usually interrupted every 3 to 5 minutes by a waiter or a hostess saying that something was going on, or hey, I need you to answer this question, or hey, it looks like we're booked for this night, but this person has an anniversary and they want to get a reservation in. Can we squeeze them in? And like, oh God, all the things. And so I could never really sit down and work on focused tasks that would require a more average neurological system to work on that without task switching and losing attention, executive function disorder. And so then I never really knew that it was an issue because it was just the nature of my business, the nature of my role. So I would try to sit down and work on long-term projects and focused projects, and I could never really get that far. But then it wasn't really until I started my own business that it became a really big issue because, well, I'm not working in the same environment. I'm working by myself, for myself, and then I would set goals, but it would be really hard for me to achieve them. But I didn't realize it was because I had difficulty maintaining attention. I have an interest-based nervous system, which means that I focus my energy almost insanely on things that interest me. But if it doesn't interest me, like say administrative tasks, setting up two-factor authorization for my QuickBooks account, organizing and filing receipts, that stuff's just not going to get done. I'm just not wired for that. So I'm curious if this is something that resonates with you, because I'm finding more and more people that have gone most of their life and only just recently are starting to understand that they're ADHD AF, that they are very neurodivergent. And the reason that certain things have been very challenging for them throughout life, whether it's career, whether it's addiction, whether it's relationships, has often been because of they've been living in a world that does not teach them or support their nervous system, doesn't teach them how to navigate life with their nervous system. And because there are a lot of boxes that we are forced to fit into in this world, but we fit even more poorly into those boxes than most humans. So if you resonate with this, drop a comment below, because I'd love to hear how you figured it out. Have you been diagnosed? Are you self-diagnosed? I personally hesitate to go to a doctor or to somebody who's going to tell me what I already know to be very, very much true, especially because the likelihood of them trying to pressure me into taking some sort of medication is probably going to be pretty high, and I'm not interested in doing that. I would rather, as ADHD memes have said, I would rather raw dog life than take a pill. But that means that I have to live differently. That means that I have to know how to take care of my nervous system, to balance connection and being around people and being in solitude. I need to know, when do I sit down and work on focused tasks, or when do I outsource that to somebody else? I got to know how to come out to the beach and film content, because that's actually what I'm really good at and what's exciting to me. And then also sit down, close my eyes, and meditate for 20 or 30 minutes so that I can clear my head. You see, we have to live differently. I feel like as humans as a whole, we have to live differently, because as we can see in the world, the proof is in the pudding. Things are not going so well. And yet, things are going in many ways really well. But mental, depression, health, emotional issues are staggering right now. And so we need to change something. And so that's why I am here to help you as I learn how to do this for me, to learn how to live differently, how to navigate life differently, because we have to. Things have to change. We have to learn how to honor our nervous system. And so share with me how you came about the idea of the understanding that you are neurodivergent. And then stick with me, like, subscribe, because I'm going to continue sharing information about how to live as somebody who is neurodivergent, how to not only survive, but how to thrive, giving you the tips, the tools, and the community connections so that you can recognize that you're not alone. There are many of us that are waking up to this truth, and it is time for us to embrace not only the truth that we need to learn how to live differently, but also we get to celebrate that we are far more powerful than we have been taught, and that what society labels as a disorder is actually a superpower if we know how to use it properly. So my name is Christopher Armstrong. I'm a transformational guide that helps people who are neurodivergent to learn how to master themselves, their mind, their nervous system, how to break free from social conditioning and awaken to the true power that they came here to express. So like, subscribe, all those good things. I'll see you all soon.